Oh yeah, let's go make steel the mechanism way. Yeah, that's a great idea. Come on, Art, you have one single shtick here. It's to make steel bees. I have no idea how I forgot steel bees existed, and I just made the coal bee to actually make these. So, I guess we should get this over with, huh? And one steel bee made. Hello everybody, I'm Art and welcome to another episode of All the Mods A, and yes, I forgot I could do bees. So I added on another couple huts here. I'm going to put some more above and maybe some further out that way. I do want to do another bank over there behind this one anyways. I also redid this pathway, and I think this glass from chip works really well. I'm not sure how I feel about the inset tiny little slabs from framed blocks, this thing right here. The one problem I have with these is that you can't place them at the top level even with the top of a block. You can only place them at the bottom of it, which means I can only do this basically. Otherwise they'd be sitting on top, one block too high. So, I'm mostly okay with this. I might rethink it. It's a little annoying to run over, but it looks pretty good. Anyhow, while we're talking about bees, this episode, I do want to go do at least one more bee type because I need Prismarine. Because one of the things that happens is the mobs for this mob crusher, well, those are apotheosis spawners which play by normal spawner rules, more or less, which requires players be within a relatively small number of blocks. So anytime I wander back up these stairs, back up into my main base area, they turn off and they stop making the enchanted books. Not ideal. But thankfully, one of the upgrades for the apotheosis spawners is Prismarine crystals, which can increase the activation range up to 48, which covers a good chunk of my base, which should help a great deal. I still may want to switch to powered spawners or something later, but we're going to go with the powerless solution right now. Speaking of power, I also discovered I did something foolish, and well, none of the generators back here were actually connected up to my battery. So while they were helping power machines, they weren't actually generating any extra to bank it. So that wasn't the smartest thing I've ever done, but that's all good now. And this battery is now ticking up at a much faster rate than it did before. It might not seem like it's all that high, but, well, keep in mind, A, I don't chunk load this, and B, I completely refilled my diamond jetpack, which is 30 million. So, yeah, we're doing okay right now for power. So I guess let's go fishing, because that's the only way to catch a Prismarine bee, and it can only specifically be caught in deep ocean. Last time I checked, most deep oceans don't even have islands in it, so I went and made something to help with that. Alright, so here we are in a deep ocean biome, and one of the things I made to help with, because obviously there's no land in the deep ocean, was a construction wand diamond wand, which is like builder's wands from earlier versions of modded Minecraft, except I added something called an angel core, which lets you do things like what the old extra utils angels blocks used to do, which place them in midair. So let's see if I understand how this works. Alright, assuming I understand how this works, you need the block you want in your offhand. You also can't have been falling, but I don't know if the jetpack counts or not, but if we hold right click, yeah, it's not working. Well, I finally figured it out, but I had to pillar up from the bottom to get my head wrapped around what you had to do, because you actually have to turn it on first. So what you have to do is hold shift down to switch it between its modes, and I had it on the construction core instead of the angel core. But now that we have this, I can just drop blocks in the air. So, not great, but we got it there. Anyhow, time for some nice, relaxing fishing. And I just realized I'm not in the deep ocean biome. Well, A, the angel wand came in handy because I had to move down over a little bit to get back into the deep ocean from where I was. But B, I also just found a water temple, and we could just get Prismarine from that, and or farm some guardians for hostile neural networks, so we could do it that way. But we're gonna go fishing because, you know, bees, definitely bees. Fished up a fish, but the bee popped out of the water and hit me, so I don't know what happened there, but we got the bee. Alright, so now that we've got the bees sorted out for now, I went and did some exploring because there are some things we want to do today to accomplish the goal for the day, which hopefully is going to be getting down to the supreme machine frame for Industrial Foregoing. But there's some obstacles in the way that are somewhat dangerous, shall we say. Because what we need to do to make that is make ether gas. And well, what you do with ether gas is you use a fluid laser drill on top of a wither. Now, what none of the help text in there will tell you is that there is an easy way to achieve this that will hopefully not blow up your base. And that's using the stasis chamber from Industrial Foregoing. But my problem is I went and tested this to make sure I knew what I was doing because I've never done this before, because this is new to 1.16, is that this eats up a fair amount of power, possibly more than we reasonably have right now. I don't know the exact rate because it doesn't actually show you on the machine, but it was eating up something like 1,000 a second, which is, I think I produce that much, but it still makes me a little leery. So there's a couple things I want to do before we move on to that step. The first is what I was doing some exploring for. I ended up with these snazzy kitty slippers, and that was to hopefully make our pink mycelial generator a little more reliable to use, because right now, keep in mind, I was just feeding flowers into it from a botany pot, which was pretty slow. It's still not going to be a massive improvement, but we are going to switch over to these pink glass slabs, which you get 6 of for every 3 glass, and you get 8 glass per pink dye, so you end up with significantly more fuel per single pink dye. But the other thing I was trying to do was increase the amount of pink dye we get, because you only get 1 per flower, or 2 if it's peony. Now, I was trying to find a peony, and man, it turns out that that's almost harder to find than the rose bush I had to find a couple episodes back. But I really wanted the peony because, well, we can toss that into a mechanical squeezer and potentially get 12 dye out of it at a time, or at the very minimum 8. So that seems like a fair trade-off, but I failed to find it. And I don't think I have pink tulips. So instead, what we're going to do in the meantime is make one of the other generators up here on this side that we haven't done yet, the explosive mycelial generator, which pretty much does exactly what it says. It blows up gunpowder or TNT. Now, we could just feed it raw gunpowder and get a decent output, or we could feed it some TNT, which uses a bit less gunpowder, and a bit of sand to generate its power. So we're probably going to go with this. That said, I don't have a source of gunpowder, do I, currently, because, well, I do have my hostile neural network set up over here, but I don't have a creeper one. But I think I found something a little more reliable than that. Well, maybe reliable is the wrong word, because there are a bunch of ways to make gunpowder in this pack, and I started picking through the various tabs to see what was reasonable, and then I hit this tab right over in the crafty one, and I realized I can just use the generalized overload predictions and coal to make a bunch of it. And we have a lot of that because, well, we're doing cows for leather for the books for the enchantment extractor over there, and I added the wool one over here because I was going to need wool in the future, and it was increasingly becoming an issue. So, well, we've got this one sorted, and I've already got the TNT recipe made. We just need to go put this on the wall and back way up because this one explodes. And let's put this right above the death one because this one also can hurt real bad. And we'll feed it via exporter to create the TNT that it needs. Although I realized I didn't set up the laser IO node behind it, so that's going to be a problem. Alright, so I've got this set up now properly and muffled. And that actually threw me for a loop because I was looking for a muffling block or tool of some sort and I just wasn't finding one. Turns out you can just go to this button right here on your inventory and do it. Click on that and find the one you want to filter. Now that said, my recent ones seem to be showing a ton of stuff which wasn't exactly useful, but I just searched for EX and you can find explode pretty easily. That said, this is probably going to get me killed some other way since explosions can happen from more than just my own explosion generator there. But this puts me on a little bit more stable footing for power at least, so I feel a bit more comfortable moving on. But what we need now are some wither skeleton skulls, and I need to go find a stronghold for that. Alright, so I found what appears to be a pretty broken fortress, but hopefully this is enough to get wither skeletons to spawn. I am going to drop a waystone here, and I also brought a deep mob learner and a model framework in case I can't get the heads. I need a couple kills and we'll just shove them in the machine and make it happen. Okay, so I just went down a bit and around a corner. It looks like we are able to get skeletons here at least, so this is a start. Let's go make sure he knows that we can enslave his whole race, huh? Well, that wasn't ideal. Well, 2 skulls and 5 kills. It's going to be awfully close here. Only need 1 more either way, I think. Hey, there we go. We got both on the final kill. So that was easy. Alright, so at this point we need to make a few items, one of which is the stasis chamber, which is pretty simple. It's just the main hardest part is the advanced machine frame. A fluid laser base, which is same thing but a bunch of diamonds. And then 1 to 4 laser drills. This is the same as the ore laser setup basically, but for fluids. And we're going to set this all up rudimentarily to see if we have enough to do a sustained power draw from both the drill and the stasis chamber to make sure that the wither will never get loose. Alright, so I've got them set up here right next to the energy cube so that we can see what sort of power we're getting. It looks like we are more or less stable with maybe a slight gain. Yep, it's going up. And you can see that the box, that this is what the station chamber surrounds. If we come into this, it will slow me down and I will start, yep, there's the slowness buff, and then I will have trouble basically moving. So as you see, it periodically pops me out of it though, and I can eventually get out. But this at least looks like this will work. One of the other things we're going to need is a purple laser lens, which we're making in the dissolution chamber. It's just 4 glass panes, purple dye, and some latex. So thankfully we already had this well set up. Alright, so we are almost at the moment of truth here. This obviously isn't finished up. I'm going to go clean this up after I verify that this works, because there's basically no coming back from this. We'll have either spawned a wither and it'll be trapped, or we won't. One of the things that I did do to ensure that this will hopefully not get completely loose is added the tinted glass from Mob Grinding Utils, because I did a search for wither in JEI and it was one of the cheaper options that popped up. Because right here you can see tinted glass straight up says that it can withstand withers. And this is just glass and coal, although it shows other sources that we can use like coke, which would have probably made more sense to make this at least expensive. But I guess let's go do this. My biggest concern right now is that the wither won't fit in this box, because I think it floats up a 1 higher than this. But this could be bad. We'll have to see. Let's see. Make sure we remember to actually turn on the stasis chamber. All right. Slap down the last soul sand. Make sure I know where I need to put these 2 blocks. Make sure the blocks are actually on my hotbar. And then realize I can't easily get up there. And I think we have a safely trapped wither. Let's see, going up to the laser base, let's hopefully see that it's aligned right and it will give us some ether gas. Because if it's not, we have a problem. And as you can tell, the wither's really annoying. Let's go shut him off too. Alright, and it did pull up a small amount of ether gas, so I think we're good to go. So now what I need to do is add in the means to extract the gas out of it, which isn't that much harder. There's more laser IO nodes in a tank somewhere. And then we can start stashing it to make a Supreme machine frame, which takes 135, which seems like an awfully random number, but really isn't that much ether gas. Now I can add more laser drills around it to make it go faster, and I believe you can even stack them in rows together now, going out in spokes from the laser base. I would have to test it. I don't personally care that much because I don't think we're going to need all of that much gas, but this will at least let us get started on this. So let me wait for a bit to get some more and get the outputs going to a tank somewhere. You know, the fun part was I was going to try to catch the quests up so that we could actually finish out these 2 right here. And then I was, okay, I've got to make a couple more drills. That's easy. And then an ore laser base. How hard can this be? Well, this is one of the recipes that's been changed. This requires aluminium and vibranium. I'm going to need to go start on the actual core progression for this pack pretty soon, aren't I? I don't want to go into the deep dark. Last time I went down there, a warden killed me. So while we were waiting for the ether gas, I decided to clean up his cage a little bit and give him a nice little pretty gilded home to be stuck in permanently, even if it's just going to keep staring at that wall and to infinity. I also added the Prismarine to the Apotheosis spawners back there, so now it reaches up most of the way into my base, so we're doing pretty good right now. I also got the dissolution chamber set up and ready to go with the ether gas in it, as well as a recipe for the Supreme machine frame. I also set up one for the Supreme black hole tank because, well, my liquid storage here is starting to become an issue. These are just jumbo tanks from Mob Grinding Utils, which hold a decent amount. They hold about 1 million, but we need more. So that's not going to be the first thing we do with this, and we only have enough to make 1 machine frame, but I think we should go make the Meatallurgical generator to end this out and get some more power flowing in and get the next step to our rainbow generator done, since we are already bothering to make the meat. So let's kick off the Supreme machine frame and get this going. And now that this is back, we can now make the Meatallurgical Mycelial generator. Although I need to go extract a bucket of liquid meat. Bloop. And there we go. Now we just have to hook it up. And I think we'll just put it on the wall right here, because this one's relatively harmless. Set up a laser node. Get blasted by the gunpowder, setting it up. And then we just need to add filters. So we need an energy filter to extract. We want to overclock that to make sure it can always pull out the max amount. We need an item card to insert that we're going to filter, and we're going to send it copper ingots because we have tons of them and it just needs any ingot in the slot. And then we need a fluid card, which we need to send liquid meat through. And then we just hook it up and it should just work. Except it's not, because the fluid's not coming in. There we go. So now the meat tank is full on the generator, so we've got more power coming in now. So while that might not have seemed like a whole lot, I caged a wither, folks, and that scared the bejesus out of me. I was actually afraid it would nuke part of my base. I could always have supposed to just propped a mob crusher right up against the tinted glass here to nuke it if it somehow did get free. But, you know, it would have been useful if I thought about that before I tried caging it. So here we are. Anyhow, if you found this episode interesting and entertaining, please leave a like or subscribe if you're new. As always, I'm Ard. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.